Just about to begin at 7 o'clock on the dot. Okay. Welcome, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and
with Corey.
And Unlocking Your Truth is a radio show which gets broadcast across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. And we also have a podcast, which you can view on my website, drlesliephillips.com. And we live stream to my YouTube page and to the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, which is actually getting close to 1,000 members now. We've only got, probably in a week or so, we'll probably hit the 1,000 mark, which would be fantastic.
That's exciting.
Yes, and if you're new to the show, let me explain. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different topic under that general umbrella. And we very much enjoy talking about things that relate to healing and psychic development as well, especially as we've got all of our people that watch who are really into that stuff. So, like I said, every week it's a different topic, and I did make a post on the Facebook group, and I asked for two things. I asked people for questions ahead of time or suggestions on the show topic, and also why do you want to develop your intuition? Because that's the subject of tonight's show. What reasons might we have for wanting to develop our intuition? I mean, another way of saying that is benefits we might get from it. And again, I'm following the theme of just each week at the moment, going through a chapter in my book. And tomorrow is the official launch date when it would have been available in brick and mortar bookstores, which obviously is not going to happen now because of the COVID virus, but it actually tomorrow is the official launch date of it.
That sucks.
Yeah, doesn't it? Doesn't it suck? But anyway, I just thought we got loads of new members watching the last couple of weeks. And so I think it's really good to just say, well, why are we doing this? Why do we want to develop our intuition? Why do we want to develop our psychic abilities? What do we think we might get out of it? So everybody that's watching live, I would love you to post to Corey why you want to do it. and then we can just take a look at the variety of reasons. And in the meantime, before I wrote the book, I did a little questionnaire with a small group of people about why do you want to develop your intuition. And these reasons, I don't know, they might surprise you, but here is what that group of people said. To have greater clarity, to feel more confident, to banish stress and anxiety, to be free to help myself and to be able to help other people, to fearlessly trust my intuitive messages, to experience increased peace and happiness, to know how to tap into it whenever I want, and to be guided by my higher self for better life decisions. And I think I might not have guessed those things in advance as to what the reasons that people might have said, actually. But that is what they said. And then, so in this chapter in my book that says, why develop intuition? Here are some of the things that I wrote about. And you can also see whether you resonate with it and whether that sort of sparks something within you that says, oh yes, that is a reason why I'd like to. But I'm also really interested in people writing into us and telling us what their interest is. I tend to think about intuition as spiritual communication. We have in our human form, in our physical bodies, we have language, whether it's body language, whether it's verbal language, and that is how we communicate. But how do we communicate as spirit? We communicate through
Let me guess.
actually
Let me
what,
guess. Let me guess. Our psychic abilities.
yes.
Do I? What do I want? Got a comment for you here, by the way.
Yes.
And it says, I want to develop my intuition so that I can move through life with more grace and ease. When I move through life with my intuition, I don't have to struggle with analysis of things in mind. Also, one quick one from Loretta Ann. She says, still waiting for Amazon to send me my copy.
Well, they won't send it to you, Loretta, until after tomorrow, because that's the official date for the actual paperback book to come out.
And she's been checking the mail every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was I talking about?
Okay, so Tina says, I want to develop my intuition so that I can move through life with more grace and ease. When I move through life with my intuition, I don't have to struggle with analysis of things in my
Oh,
mind.
right. And that's a really good statement, isn't it? Because we've
It
talked about
is.
this before on the show, that the analysis we do in our mind, which is part of the body, can totally interfere with our connection with our higher self. And our higher self is the one that has all the information and can guide us on our life path. Whereas the intellectual mind's a bit more like a computer, and it's very linear as well. So, what I was saying is that I tend to think about psychic abilities as spiritual communication, and the chakras as windows of perception, because each of the chakras has different psychic abilities channeled through it and allows us to perceive things in different ways at different vibrational frequencies as well. With that in mind, in my book on the chapter about why we might want to develop our intuition, the things I wrote about were, and I think the lady who made a comment is relevant, um, to be able to communicate with the divine. Now, whatever your word for that is, you could call it God, you could call it source energy, you could call it supreme being. There are any number of concepts as to what that is. The great central sun. There's so many different words for it. But basically, there is an origin point from which we all emanate. And that origin point is the oneness that contains all information that is formed from love and light and the very substance that we are formed from. And so to be able to communicate with the divine and aspects of that divine energy is one of the main reasons that people often wish to develop their intuition, because rather than struggle with the intellect, rather than struggle with asking your friends, what should I do? Plug straight into the source, and then then you're plugged into something that you can trust and receive direct information from. So you're developing your intuition enables you to communicate with the divine, and that's one of the reasons. Now, I also said, and this is an aspect of the divine, which is your soul, your higher self. You are an aspect of divine consciousness, and you are infinite multidimensional energy. And so this body personality version of you that's listening to me speak right now is just an aspect of the totality of who you really are. And so that soul is infinite, tremendously wise, with so much experience to draw from, so many lifetimes to draw from, so many different dimensional experiences to draw from, infinite experience in guiding its aspects like you. And so for you to be able to have a direct connection with that higher self, that higher mind that is the greater part of you, is also a great reason for wanting to develop your intuition and your psychic abilities so that you can connect with that, so that you can be guided from that wise part of yourself rather than struggling as the body personality aspect of yourself. So that's the second reason. And then following on from that, I just said that you are multidimensional. You are multidimensional. So there's many aspects of you, including your past lives, parallel lives, future lives, different parts of you that are focused in different levels of reality, different dimensions, and all of them are available to you through your intuition. And part of the awakening process that we're going through now is awakening more fully to our multidimensional selves. So another reason that you might want to develop your psychic abilities and your intuition is so that you can connect with these other aspects of you and learn from them. So your past lifetimes have contained, could be thousands of lifetimes on Earth, hundreds of lifetimes on Earth. And, where you've lived 50 years, 100 years, and there's tremendous insight and information available to you through the Akashic record of all of those experiences. And when you develop your psychic abilities, you can tap into the Akashic record, you can tap into your many lifetimes, and you can learn from them. Because the soul sometimes, well, probably always, is creating through, it's not like one lifetime, one lesson. It may be experiencing, working through a particular theme across multiple lifetimes. And one lifetime will see it from this perspective, and another lifetime will see it from that perspective, and so on. So being able to tap into those other aspects of you is also a great reason that you might want to develop your intuition. And I'm hoping that our listeners who have access to the chat room can type in why they want to develop their psychic abilities, what it is that appeals to them about developing their psychic abilities. So please let us know, because we definitely want to talk about that when we come to our discussion time and also answering your questions. Another one that people are really keen on is being able to communicate with their angels or with their guides or with ascended masters, all of these great beings of light that have, that are tapped in to the higher sources of wisdom, and that may have a role in assisting us and helping us as we live our physical lives on Earth. So another reason could be that I want to tap into my personal guides, my guardian angel, or I want to communicate with the great archangels or the amazing ascended masters, because there are so many of them that are available to all of us. And that's so important, especially at a time right now, when globally we are going through a very, very difficult time. All of those beings are right here with us, and most humans forget that. I was speaking to someone today when I did a reading today who was feeling really isolated and lonely going through the self-isolation. Somebody who lived alone and, didn't have a partner. And, I think that there's probably lots of people out there who are feeling that way. And we forget that we're actually never really alone. We always have our guides and helpers that we can call upon to help give us a healing, to help soothe us, and help us cope and deal with what's going on. So that's another reason. And I think that's a really popular one. Everybody wants to talk to angels and guides.
Of course.
Another one, it's funny because I'm working on a new course that I've been developing, and I'm starting it next week, and it's on transmediumship. And being able to teach people how to read from trance. And people often think about mediumship, it's all about communicating with dead people. That's not what I'm going to be teaching in this course, but that is another reason why people want to develop their psychic abilities. That's really, really popular. Being able to be a medium is like a really popular thing, I think, for people who are into this stuff.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I got this. This comes. I'll tell you what stimulated. I saw. I got a post from somebody earlier, but is it speed reading?
Is what speed reading?
Your course. Are you going to teach people how to speed read?
How to speed read?
Yeah, speed read spirit.
Well, I mean, my concept of speed reading is like, speed reading a book, but yeah,
yes, it is mine too.
Accessing information instantly and being able to read in the way that I'm talking, because you're getting so much information and you're translating it and you're able to communicate it to your client. Absolutely, that is what this course is about.
Wonderful. Carla says, having a better understanding and learning myself, I have this gift that I understand but don't understand.
Yeah, that, and it's funny. I often think, because my courses are very technical is not the right word, but they teach you what's going on with your energy system so that you do understand what you're doing and how you're doing it and how it all works. But I often think about that, because not all psychic development circles, they're not really focused on that. They're focused on doing it without necessarily understanding what they're doing. And it's the difference, I guess, between someone who is who just wants to drive the car versus someone who wants to understand the mechanics of how the car works. But in this case, I feel it's very important to understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, because there are lots of ways in which you can be fooled, in terms of what you're receiving through your psychic information. And that would be a subject for another show. Anyway, it's time for us to go to a break on the radio
yes, it
show.
is.
So we're going to do that. Listeners, you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. We are taking a break for some messages and then we will be back.
Almost instantly. Just a little pause and back to you, Dr. Leslie.
Welcome back, listeners. If you're just joining us, you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
I'm still here.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different discussion topic. And we love to answer your questions as well. And tonight's topic is about, why do you want to be psychic? Why do you want to develop your psychic abilities? What is it that makes you have a passion for this stuff? Why are you listening to this show? What are you hoping that developing your psychic abilities is going to do for you? And I was just going, in one of the chapters of my new book, Intuition and Chakras, is all about this. And before the break, we said, well, I want to talk to the divine. I want to talk to my higher self or my soul. I want to talk to other aspects of my multidimensional self, my angels, my guides, people I love who've passed over. So those are some of the many reasons. And here's another one. And I've kind of lumped them together, but I guess they might be seen as two separate things. Animals. So many people love animals and want to be able to communicate with animals. And again, I was working with a lady today, and that was, she was into horses, and she felt like she used to be able to communicate with them, and that for some reason her ability to do so was blocked. And so we were working on unblocking that. And I know that there are so many people who actually write into the show and write into me, especially when their pets have passed over and they really they want to know if their pets knew how much they loved them, and they want to know if their pets are okay on the other side. So animal communication, and even being able to tune into the pets that you've known and loved after they've passed away, is another reason. And I also put in with that communicating with plants. And there are people, I spoke to a lady the other day, and she was talking about trees and how she developed an affinity for trees, and she had some favorite trees that she would go and put her hands on, and instantly they would help her to calm down and make her feel grounded. And so, you know, and actually that was one of my things when I was a lot younger and I lived in England. I had these big old oak trees that I loved, and I used to just sit at the bottom of them and circulate the energy of around from the tree through me.
I love my plants.
And Corey, you love your plants too. And both of those, animals and plants, communicate telepathically, which is one of our psychic abilities. So we can definitely learn to communicate with them through our telepathic channels.
Yes, both Christine and Tina say they'd like to be able to talk to animals more clearly.
That makes me laugh. I know Christine would. She's got some naughty animals every once in a while, I think. So, yes, and other people. And that's a cool one, isn't it? That because we can communicate telepathically with other people. And sometimes, especially now, when we're separated from our loved ones, we can't visit them. You know, I have family all over the world, and I've got family in England and other places, and at the moment, we can't visit them. But it is possible to stay in touch with them, not only through the internet, but to be able to tap into them psychically and know that they're doing okay.
I'm sorry, Christine's got some interesting comments again. She says, it would be nice to develop my intuition so that I have better distinguish between the voice of my higher self versus the voice of my ego. And then she's commenting on your comments saying, with regards to the number of animals she has, naughty and lots of them, she said.
Maybe in that same kind of vein, that nature spirits, that's one of my favorites. And I don't have a copy of my other book on my desk, but my first book was called The Midas Tree, and it's a novel about basically the journey of awakening. And a lot of the characters in the book are nature spirits. And there's a whole aspect of our reality that not many of us tap into. It's called the Devic Kingdom. And these are the fairies and the elves and the sylphs and the salamanders and all of these different names that we've given them, the brownies and so on. But basically, these are aspects of spirit whose job it is to tend to nature. And so mountains have a spirit, like Pele in Hawaii, for example. Volcanoes do, rivers, waterfalls, and even the flowers and plants in your garden have spirits, have spirit helpers that tend to them and look after them. And I think often in shamanic belief systems, they are, you know, when they're connecting with the plant medicine, it's very often that they're connecting with the devas, the spirits of those plants. So that might be another reason that one wants to go deeply into this psychic development. Here's one that I think not many people think of, but I'm really passionate about, and I include teachings about this in all of my courses, is body, to be able to talk to your own body, which sounds like a really bizarre thing to say. You know what? Huh? What do you mean, talk to my own body? Most people are not in touch with their body. Most people don't listen to what it has to say to them. And, you know, your body is your vehicle. You are not your body. You are spirit. You've created a body, and the body is a very powerful vehicle, and it has its own sensory apparatus, and it gives you feedback. And it might give you some emotional feedback that says, I'm really afraid right now, or yay, I'm having fun. Or it might give you some feedback on a physical level by developing some kind of ailment. And, so often we ignore the body, we try to shut it up. I don't know, we stuff food down it, we do all sorts of things so that we can make it keep performing without paying any attention to it. And then there's, other people who are just so out of their body that they are disconnected and disassociated from their body completely because they're not grounded and they're not even in their body. There is a psychic ability called clairsentience, called clear feeling, which relates to body-spirit communication and your ability as spirit to really listen to what your body has to say to you so that you can keep it in balance and so that you can keep it healthy. So that's another really good reason, but I think not everybody thinks about it. And then my final one, and there's 10 of these, by the way, for Corey when he writes the web post, the top 10 reasons. Galactic beings, and that's becoming more and more and more popular because now we know, well, there's the Arcturians, there's the Pleiadians, there's the Sirians, there's all
reptilians.
There's all of these amazing, highly evolved beings in other star systems that we are related to and who are available to us to communicate with and to even act as guides and assisters, especially right now when we're having such problems on the planet. And so, and also remember we said we're multidimensional beings, and often we have our own connections with different star systems. So it's quite common for people. It used to be people used to want to know who was they in a past life. Now it's quite common for people to say, where am I really from? And you know what? If you're in a body on Earth, right now you're from Earth and that's your home, but you can have other experiences in other planetary systems for sure, and connections with them. So that can be another reason why people want to do this stuff. So I think I'm kind of done with my, top 10 reasons for why you want to develop your intuition. In the book, there's lots of little exercises that people can do. And at the end of this chapter is for you to write your intuition why. Why do you want to develop your intuition? I'd love to hear from our listeners. If there's anyone else who's shared with us why they want to develop it. I know that there was someone who posted earlier and said they want to develop it just for the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding that it would bring them. And that was Cara. Do you have any others, Corey?
No.
Okay.
That's it. That's all the.
Let's go
You're completely.
Okay. Well, let's go to people's questions. I do have someone who wrote a question in advance. And it's actually, well, I guess we can relate it to the subject tonight. So it's from Kaylee, and she said, she'd like to know what I think about twin flames and guides. And she says, all my guides are men, and I'm wondering if I can attract a female guide, or maybe if it means I'm supposed to heal the divine feminine. And thank you for that question. That's a really great question. And so let me expound and answer on it. So our guides are neither male nor female. And ultimately, at the level of our soul, we are not, right? I'm in a female body, Corey's in a male body. On the level of the soul, when we're genderless, we're both. And the same thing for your guides, that they are, it's only when we're in a physical body that we have male or female. So what happens with the guides, in order for them to connect with us, they will project an image. and they will choose the image that is going to be most appealing to us, or that we feel that we can connect with. And so sometimes they will project themselves as a male valence, and sometimes they will project themselves as a female valence. Sometimes that male valence or female valence will be in the form of, let's say you knew this guide in a past life. So they may show up as they were in that past life, because then when you attune to that, there will be something that feels familiar, and then you'll feel good about connecting with that guide. And so, Kaylee, it may be that, you know, you've been told all of your guides are men, but your guides don't have bodies, and so they're not men, but they may have been showing themselves to the reader, or if it's you that's seeing this, so they look like men. But really what they are is energy, vibration, light, frequency, consciousness. And they can, you know, they could show up and make themselves look like a vegetable or something if they wanted to. But, you know, we'd be like, what is this carrot doing? I don't, you know. So then they turn up like a man. So can you, you know, and so you're saying, well, I wonder if I can attract a female guide. Well, absolutely you can. And you can ask for that, you know, that you would like to connect with a guide that is emanating a more feminine female polarity. And
I was just laughing because she can borrow one of my guides, Big Bird.
he's male though, Corey, I think.
Is he?
Big Bird?
Yeah, is he male?
Didn't he, on Sesame Street?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm going to look at Kaylee's question as well. Like she says, I'm wondering if, you know, am I meant to heal the divine feminine, and why are they all showing up as men? So I think that's worth looking at. And then there's another part to her question as well, which was about twin flames. So give me a moment. Let's tune in. Well, I think there is an aspect of you healing the divine feminine, actually, Kaylee. And the way I'm seeing it is this, is that it looks like you might have some concepts around male authority figures, and that you've got some programming in your space that, because you're in a female body, somehow you expect authority to show up in a male form. And so what I'm seeing about the divine feminine within you is to validate that female feminine aspect as being equal and in balance with the male aspect, so that you don't diminish the more feminine, or you don't, what's the word, supplicate the feminine to the masculine. So yeah, I am seeing that it does look like you're doing some work within yourself around balancing the male and female energies within you. And so, yeah, giving yourself permission to invite the experience of a more female, a guide that projects themselves as female, then that sounds like a good thing. And then the other part of your question, twin flames. What do I think about twin flames? So I think I'll look at that from trance as well. People ask me that often, and I give answers often, which is, you know, usually to say, I think it depends on what your definition of twin flames is, because a lot of people think I am only a half and I'm meant to find my other half in order to feel whole. So I don't agree with that. You are whole as you are. You are complete as you are. There isn't a missing part of you that you have to go and search for outside of yourself. So that's the first thing. Now, I'll try and make a distinction between twin flames and soulmates as well. So I think sometimes there's confusion between the word twin flame and soulmate. You know, I'm looking for my soulmate, I'm looking for my twin flame. They get used as the same thing. From my perspective, a soulmate is another body personality that is being projected from the same soul. So all of your past lifetimes are soulmates of yours. All of your future lifetimes are soulmates of yours. And if there are any parallel lifetimes, they are soulmates of yours. And it is possible for two soulmates to be in relationship with one another. And I've known of one or two in my lifetime, and they can be some of the most challenging relationships, because from the soul's perspective, it wants to really expand its consciousness. Now I'm getting the signal that we have to go to a break, so I'm going to wrap the answer up there. Listeners, you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Yay.
We're broadcasting on 101.7 FM, and we've been talking this evening about why do you want to develop your psychic abilities? All right. Can you see the comments, Corey, on the Facebook group?
Yeah, there's nothing. I haven't received anything after naughty and lots of them from Christine.
Okay, yeah, that's the same thing that I can see too.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll come back and we'll see if we can get some questions. People, yep. Just before we go back onto the recorded part, if you have a question, please post it. You can ask about anything you want.
Yeah, even if you want a quick little reading.
Yeah. I thought Laurie was going to join us tonight. Is there, because she emailed me to ask. I wonder if there's any questions on the YouTube channel. Let's have a look.
No, I don't think so. No. I'm on the YouTube channel. I don't see any questions.
Okay. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to the show. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. We're broadcasting on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. Our show is every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 Pacific time. We put it out as a podcast on all of those amazing podcast platforms out there. And it's also posted on our website, drlesliephillips.com. And we live stream to the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group and to our YouTube channel. Tonight on the show, we've been talking about why do you want to be psychic? Why do you want to awaken your psychic abilities? And some people have shared why they want to, and I've shared some reasons that I wrote about in my book. And, you know, I was just thinking, why did I want to? It's such a long time ago. Why did I want to? And I think my reason, and there's probably many of them, but I know when I was a kid, I had unexplained experiences, like at nighttime in the dark, I basically see millions of colored light particles swimming around. And I remember asking my mum if she could see them, and she said no. And I know in the sky outside in the daytime, I see all of these crystalline particles swimming around. So there was things like that, aspects to my reality that nobody else seemed to share and nobody else seemed to see. You know, and then I guess like many of us, I got channeled into the education system and sort of tuned those things out for a while, except I didn't completely. And I always was, had a lot of dreams and was fascinated by my dreams. And so as a teenager and into my 20s, I kept a dream diary. And I got to the point where I even trained myself to sleep with a dictaphone under my pillow, and I literally went to sleep with my finger pressed on the on button and the pause button. And as I would enter a REM cycle in my dreams, my finger would automatically press record, and I would speak the dream. My body would speak the dream as I was having the dream in my astral body. So communicating between my astral body and my physical body to get my physical body to dictate the dream onto the thing. And then I would, so originally it was a dream diary that I'd be writing as I woke up. But then when I developed that technique, there was like 4 or 5 dreams a night that I could only remember the last one, but they were all there. So I had this enormous amount of material that I had downloaded from my dreams. And of course, a lot of it didn't really make sense in physical reality, but some of it was fascinating. And so I had premonitions of global world events that actually happened that I saw in my dreams. I had premonitions of my own life that happened days or weeks after I dreamed it. Even like people I hadn't met, new people coming into my life, I met them in my dreams first. I experienced myself in other lifetimes, knowing the same people that I knew at that time, playing different characters within that lifetime. I met and communicated with guides. And so there were all of these experiences that I was having. And in the daytime, you know, I was training as a scientist, or I was working as a scientist. And so it's sort of like there were these 2 parallel realities, the one more earthly, more intellectual, studious, scientific side, and then the what was going on in my astral experiences. And I just was fascinated by my dreams and the experiences I was having in my dreams, and what experiences I might be able to have in my dreams. And so I joined a dream group, and in that group was great. We used to meet once a week, and we taught ourselves to program our dreams, to lucid dream, to wake up in our dreams, to meet each other in our dreams. And from that group of people, they introduced me to other people who were into all of this psychic stuff. And I started taking some classes in 20 years ago probably 22 years ago in England. I took a year-long training as an energy healer, and also as a clairvoyant. And then when I moved to North America, I did about 6 years of very intense spiritual development and spiritual training. So very, very committed, you know, meditating for an hour a day at least, and sometimes meditating for a whole day. And that was really what awakened my psychic abilities to be able to access them through my waking life, not just through my dreaming life. And, you know, I always say to people, it's my belief that developing your psychic abilities is a dual path. And what I mean by that is you need to be healing yourself at the same time as you're opening up your psychic abilities. And so for those 6 very intense years, that's what I was doing. I was healing myself and working on clearing all of the things that might block me from having clarity and being able to tune into those abilities at the same time as I was developing them. And again, that's what I aim to do in all of my classes. And I should probably mention that there is one of my classes is starting this week and another one is starting next week. This week, it's called the one that is called Unlock Your Intuition. And I know Christine, who's on the chat, she's taken that course. I'm not sure who else is there, but that course.
Lori's there, by the way. She said
Oh,
hi.
Hi, Laurie. You must have a question, Laurie. Type it in now. Um, yeah, that course is really getting you on that parallel track, teaching you techniques to heal yourself at the same time awaken and develop your psychic abilities. And it focuses on them clearing the main blocks. And it's not too late to join that course if anybody might be interested in that one. We have our first live session on Thursday this week. And then next week, we're doing the Transmediumship course. And that one is only open to people who have taken the Unlock Your Intuition course. But that one's going to be a really fantastic one. And people are going to be in that course learning to read how I read. And I've never done that before. So, yeah, I'm very excited about that. So if that's something that people are really wanting to do, then I recommend the Unlock Your Intuition course that starts this week, because that will then get you with a firm foundation to move forward from.
That sounds interesting.
Mm.
I have an intuition, it's an intuitive thought that came through my head. I thought I heard a train go by.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't.
No.
No, but that's funny. That's one of the things that in the Transmediumship course we'll be teaching is how to, because to read from trance, you tune out the physical and tune into the spiritual. So then you're less aware of what's going on in the physical world when you're in trance.
Yeah. There was a question that a lady sent on the emails. I don't have the email right in front of me today, but I told her to call into the show and get a good answer. But she said she smells sulfur a lot, and that nobody else smells that.
Yeah, yeah, actually, and there was somebody who joined the Facebook group this week that was also commenting on that. So some people call the psychic say it's a psychic ability, and for example, the classic is the medium who is saying, I smell cigars. Does anybody have someone who's passed on to the other side who smoked cigars, because I've got him here? And the medium is having this smell as a symbol or symptom of, who she's talking to on the other side. So it's a fairly common experience. And people think of that as a genuine psychic ability. And it's even got a name. It's got a few different names. One is clairalliance, another is clairolfaction, because of the olfactory bulbs. And it isn't a genuine psychic ability from the perspective that I think of the psychic abilities of how you communicate when you're outside of the body and you don't have a body, and you can use them when you're in a body. But there are certain things that you can only do when you're in a body, and when you're not in a body, they don't happen. And one of those is smell. So it doesn't mean that the person's not having a communication with spirit. They might well be, but that communication isn't happening through the chakra system, through one of the genuine psychic abilities. It's that spirit is stimulating an aspect within the physical body of the person having that experience. And so I like to teach people so that they don't have their body invaded in any way. And so we don't focus on gifts like clairolfaction, because that is always that you're being invaded by the spirit. In order for them to make you think you're smelling sulfur or smelling cigars, they have to get into your space and diddle with your olfactory bulbs. Same thing with, there's another one called clairgustance, which is clear tasting. And, for example, somebody might get a funny taste in their mouth, and it's a sign of something going wrong. Or they, I don't know, like a healer tastes a particular herb and then prescribes that for somebody. When you're outside the body, you don't have taste. it belongs to the body. It doesn't mean that you can't be communicating with spirit, but again, it's invasive. Spirit is coming and manipulating your body in some way so that you have that experience. The other psychic abilities, you can operate them and communicate with spirit from within your own space without any other spirit coming into your system, which is the way I like to the way I like to teach it now. I mean, because we don't have any questions, I'm just sharing a bit of my personal journey. And you know, on that journey that I was talking about, that very first healing course that I took in the UK, I had a spirit guide, and that spirit guide used to step into my body and move my arms and move my legs and move me where I should stand in order to channel healing energy to whoever I was working on. And at the time I thought, well, that's fantastic. Isn't that great? This is, you know, but later on I learned that it wasn't necessary to allow another being into my space in order to be able to channel healing energies. And so now I work with healing guides that are respectful, and we just connect in the hand chakras, and that's it. I don't allow another being to walk into and operate my body. And so that's really, I guess, one of the, I mean, you might call it ethics. I don't know whether it's really ethics, but I think it's important, you know, my energy is what's meant to be in my space. Your energy is what's meant to be in your space. That's your vessel. You created it. It works best when your frequency, your unique frequency is in there. And so that's the way I like to teach about this stuff, is from the perspective of respecting space. Any questions yet, Corey?
No, not that I've seen, but let me check again.
Come on, folks.
How do you set the boundary with your guides?
So
That's from Jess.
Yeah, how do you set the boundary with your guides? Well, first off is in choosing your guides. I mean, a lot of people think, well, that they choose me. You know, my guides choose me, but I do it the other way around. I choose my guides. I decide if I am in agreement with working with this being. And so one boundary is you pick and choose them, like you pick and choose your friends, or if you were running your own business, like you pick and choose your, you know, who you want to work for you. And we need to check that the guide is in alignment with the highest perspective. And so we ask the guide if it is. And there's ways of asking it that it can't lie, and that you can see if it is not in alignment with the highest and greatest good. And what I would say is, if that guide doesn't respect your space, don't work with it. If that guide moves into your energy field, don't work with it. If that guide doesn't overrides anything you ask it to do, don't work with it. You know, so I invite my guides when I want to work with them, and then they come forward. And when I've finished, I thank them and invite them to move away. And so it's sort of like I am the one that's directing the show. Even though, you know, those guides, they're fantastic. They may have information and see information that I don't see, and I can call upon that. But I never give up my space or my seniority to my guides. And so those are the boundaries that I would set. If it's in your space, it's not a good guide, don't work with it. If it doesn't respond to your requests to come and communicate with me, thank you, communication's over, then don't work with it. I hope that answers your question.
I hope so too. Well, we're almost ready. We've got another minute or so on the show.
So, well, let's just finish off by saying, you know, please let us know. You can post in the Facebook group. And folks, if you're listening to the radio show and you don't know what I mean by the Facebook group, we live stream the radio show, and we live stream in advance of when it goes on air.
Yep.
So the folks who are members of the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, or who are following my YouTube channel, get to see the material that we put out ahead of time. And so,
can I interrupt you, Dr. Leslie?
can I just say the name of the Facebook group? It's Awaken
sorry.
Psychic Abilities Facebook group, if you want to catch that material ahead of time.
Sure. And a quick question from Tina. She says, do you pick what ascended masters you work with, or are they available to work, or are they all available to work with?
They're all available to work with.
Yep.
And but you always have free will as to whether you work with them. And many of us have different affinities with different ascended masters. So there are, for example, there are some I work with more than others, just because I feel like I have a special connection with them. And so, you know, maybe you've spent lifetimes with these people when they were on Earth, for example. So I have some like that where I've, you know, been intimately connected with when they were alive, and so I like to work with those ones. So again, it's a personal choice, and also probably part of your soul lineage, and you know, your soul group, as to which ones you resonate with the most. But they're all available to all of us. Anyway, I think we've come to the end of the show. We packed in a lot of information, didn't we, Corey?
Yes, we did.
I want to invite you guys who are on the Facebook group, post ahead of time what you'd like us to talk about, because we like to respond to what you want to hear about. Listeners, you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, and we are here every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific on 101.7 FM and live streaming on Awaken Your Psychic Abilities and my Dr. Leslie Phillips YouTube channel.
So I guess we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye, all.